The middle one, kind of a green in the middle.
Okay, there we go.
There you go. Got it.
Yay.
The ball is in your court.
Okay, let's see. There is a version of the Libby app that you can download to Windows computer, and so I do have that on my desktop here. Obviously, people can download the Libby app to an Android device, a tablet, their iPhone, and so that is probably the way that most people will want to access OverDrive. So let's see.
Down at the bottom, when you do that share, they give you a choice of which screen to share.
Oh, so now we need to, there. Which one's still, this one says Libby. Looks black, but.
There. There's your search.
It says Libby now?
Libby search.
Okay.
Okay, let me.
So that's your Libby screen.
This is... Okay, I'm trying to like move. I've got pictures here, so yeah, there we go. So this is when you go to Libby right now, this is the screen you get to. So you can tell we're on the Nebraska OverDrive Library site. When you first log in, when you first go to Libby, it is going to walk you through. And I suppose I should go, let's see. Okay, what I'm trying to do is get back to what Libby's going to look like at the very beginning. And so it's going to walk your patrons through getting set up. So it's going to ask your patrons if they've got a library card. So they'll say yes. And you can say, if they've got Libby on another device, you can get a code from that device, and it'll talk about how to get that code to sort of sync your devices. Or if you're starting from scratch, you can search for your library. And so I'm going to go ahead and search for a library that I've got a card with. So it says Nebraska OverDrive Libraries, Dundee County. Let's take a moment to sign you into the Nebraska OverDrive Libraries account. Where do you use your library card? And so then it's going to prompt you for the library card. And let me take a quick peek at what my card number is here.
Now, is this the card number that they get, that they as the librarian give to their person?
Yes, this is the card number that you get from your library.
Okay.
And so then you sign in. And you'll see, since I did this before, I've already named my card. You can see how many loans are available. So we've got a 6-item checkout limit. We've got a 3-item hold limit. And so then you can just go on. And now you're logged in and you're ready to start browsing for books. Right now they're doing something called Big Library Read, and so they're highlighting a particular book that is available for unlimited simultaneous use, meaning multiple people can check it out at a time, and they're just doing that for a limited time. So that's why you're seeing this book top and center. Normally you wouldn't see that. So normally you log in and the first thing you're going to see is a list of the most recently added 500 titles. So you can go ahead and take a look at those. That's what a lot of people like to do. You'll see the items that are available to borrow.
They show up first.
Yeah, items that are available show up first. You know, eventually you'll start getting to titles that you have to place a hold on. So as you go through, you'll notice some of the books have a little audio earbud icons on them right here. So that's one quick way to see if you're looking at an audiobook or an ebook. So if you don't see the little audio earbuds underneath, you're looking at an ebook. If you want to read more about a book, you can go ahead and click on the book cover and get into a detailed record. You can read a sample of the book, and that just opens it in the it just opens it in the browser in Libby. So this is just an easy way to browse through the book.
Does it give you what the number of pages, like 25 pages? Is that, or does it randomly pick that, or what?
Usually it's just part of the first chapter. And whoops, here we go. I'm going to have to open up again. There we go.
I think you might need to share it again. You said it closed.
Oh, let's see. There we go. I accidentally got it out, it looks like.
I think it's sharing it over there.
Are you guys seeing this again?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So let's.
Although now I see a flower.
Okay.
New technology.
Yeah.
There you go. Now you're back.
Okay.
Okay, and actually now it looks like I'm not in Libby anymore. I'm just on the regular website, and we were in Libby, so. Are you seeing Libby again?
Yes. Now I see the shelf.
Okay. So it says reading now because we were doing the sample. Let me get back. Shoot.
Click on the guy down below. Maybe that brings. Does that bring it back?
That'll just bring me back into the sample.
Oh, okay.
So you were asking about page number of pages.
The sample. The sample, is it a random place, or does it always just pick you the first 25 pages or so?
It's usually just a portion of the first chapter.
Okay.
And if it's a picture book, you might not even get to the first picture. It does sort of relate to how many pages are in the item. So I've opened up a couple picture books with a sample, and I don't really even get into the first. I get the title page, and that's about it sometimes. So
okay.
It depends.
That, like I said, that's just reading the sample. If you want to borrow it, you click on borrow. It's got my card stored. I can click on borrow.
Are the number of books that get borrowed, the limit on the number of books, is that set by the system, or is that set by the library?
It's set by the group. So the group has set a maximum of 6 titles that can be checked out at one time. You'll always have this shelf option over here, and this will take you to books that you have checked out. So we just checked out this book. You'll see it's available for 21 days. If you want to read it, you can click Open Book. You have the option of sending it to a Kindle device or a Kindle app if you want, or just reading it in Libby. And so, you know, if your patrons are on a device and they've got the Libby app on it, it's as easy as anything to read it in Libby unless they have a specific desire to send it to a Kindle. So that just opens up the book and they can click through it by clicking on the right. In this case, I have to use my mouse and click on the right side of the screen. If they're on a touch screen device, they'd just be able to swipe or tap with their fingers. So if you tap in the center, you get your menu options, and so you can adjust the look and feel of the text, 1 or 2 columns. You can bookmark a page if you want, and it shows up on the little scale at the bottom. You can search for a term within the book. You can jump around chapters. You've got some reading settings, so you can make the font larger or smaller. You can adjust. You've got a couple options for the background and text color, and some different fonts that you can choose from. When you want to get out of the book, you just click back and you're back on your shelf. And so up here you've got, you can just see the list of titles you have checked out. So we've got 1 checked out. You've got a list of hold items. We don't have any holds placed at this time. And then if you have been using OverDrive for a while, you may want to develop some tags and tag books, like to be read in the future, that sort of thing. So again, we haven't really started with that yet here. So this is just, we just logged into this account for the first time, so we don't have anything on hold there or tagged. So you kind of can toggle back and forth between the OverDrive library collection and your own personal shelf. So in this case, we can jump back to the library, record. We can go back to the list of titles we were looking at, or you can also click on the little magnifying glass to search for a title. So say we were looking for The Good Earth. We found that. This one's available in audio. So again, we could check it out if we wanted, or you can play a sample. Let's see if we can hear this.
Blackstone Audio presents by Pearl S. Buck.
So
I'm always glad
it's
when
playing here. I don't know if you can hear it there. And let's stop that. I'm not sure what else you want to see. We can look and put something on hold if you'd like, or.
Kathy, did you have any other questions about Libby?
I do. I noticed that you do have promotional materials available for OverDrive, but do you have any for Libby specifically?
Let me see what we've got on our website here. And do you see?
Because I looked and I saw the ones for OverDrive, but maybe I missed the Libby ones.
Okay. And are you seeing the Nebraska Library Commission website now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So let me just jump to, I'm just going to type in OverDrive on our website. And information for the Nebraska OverDrive Libraries group. And we've got some marketing materials. And let's
I
see.
see there's handouts up there. There was my handout.
Yeah, let's see, we've got help documents, and then we've got some marketing material. And I'm not sure right now if let's see. Let's try going out to the marketing and outreach website. And let's see, here's print ready. And they do have, yeah, so they have some, they have a marketing kit, which is a variety of printable guides that you can download.
Excellent. Just what I needed.
Yep. So it's let's see. So we go marketing materials, OverDrive's marketing and outreach website. You've got print, ready, or digital. I think those are probably going to be the two options you'll want. And then you scroll down and you'll find the Libby material. And they do it in kind of a carousel where you scroll through. So there's posters, bookmarks, half sheet flyer. And then I think the marketing kit is going to bundle a bunch of stuff together. And let's just take a peek at digital here.
Thanks, Susan, for finding those.
Yeah. Okay.
Other questions?
Organizationally, one of the questions that came up last time was there's the statewide group, and then Lincoln has one for themselves, and Omaha has one for themselves. So can you talk a little bit about those three and what's the difference among them and how that process works?
Omaha and Lincoln each had their own individual OverDrive accounts before the consortium started back in 2007, 2008. There was talking in 2007. It actually went live in 2008 for the consortium. OverDrive, as they have worked with various states on statewide, with statewide groups, and talking with their publishers, they started setting a limit as to the largest city that could be part of a group. So Omaha and Lincoln already had their own. OverDrive made the pitch that we could have a consortium with any town in Nebraska that served a population of less than 50,000. They've since upped that to 100,000, but it still eliminates Omaha and Lincoln. So for the consortium, we have basically any other town, any other library, public library in the state who fits the criteria that we have for being a public library, a legally established public library, basically. I won't go into all the details there. Lincoln and Omaha each pay all their own fees, and they buy their own content. You have to have a library card from one of those libraries to be able to get in and use any of that content. The consortium, each of the libraries contributes a set amount of money each year. It's basically 10 cents per population served with a minimum of $500, okay? So all of you pay $500, I believe, okay? That money is then used to purchase content that is shared with all of the library's patrons that are currently part of the group, okay? You access materials that were purchased back in 2008, and you purchase materials that are available today, no matter how long your library has been part of the consortium, okay? For the purchasing, we do have a couple of outside selectors. Mary Jo Mack in West Point selects a number of the adult fiction titles, and Karen Drevo at Norfolk makes recommendations for the adult nonfiction and the children's, the juvenile materials. The orders for the adult nonfiction and the children's materials are made here at the commission. I place a lot of those orders, and then Susan also does place some of the orders. Some of the bigger libraries have also chosen to become what's called an advantage library, in which case they're still part of the consortium and their patrons still use the same website that all of the other patrons use, but they buy some of their own content. Okay, so they order that material, they pay for that material themselves with separate monies, and then their patrons have access to those copies. Those libraries can also choose to share those copies with all the other patrons from all the other libraries in the consortium. Some of those libraries have chosen to do that, some of them have not. It's totally up to them whether they do or not. So that's a broad overview. Do you have any other specific questions?
Is there additional fee to be an Advantage library?
When you start out, you do have to put $250 down on account, but then you use that to purchase material. There isn't a fee that just gets paid to OverDrive and you never see it again.
Okay.
Does that 250 have to be maintained? So if I spend $100 this month, I got to put another $100 into it?
No. Once you've spent that $250, it's your choice how you want to pay for additional purchases. You can again ask them to send you an invoice and put more money on account, or you can choose to pay as you order. So you put in an order for $50 this month, they'll send you an invoice, you pay the $50. Next month you might not buy anything. The following month you might buy $500 and they'll send you an invoice for $500.
You want to talk a little bit about the issues of pricing, or is that too complex for us to deal with?
Okay. Pricing is totally determined by the publisher. OverDrive has no control over it. And if you purchase the same content from that same publisher from any other vendor, say you were going through Recorded Books, the RB Digital, or you were going through 3M or one of the other services, Baker and Taylor, you would still pay the exact same price and have the exact same lending model. Okay, so it's up to the publisher. So some publishers, some wonderful publishers, basically charge us the cover price of the item and it's kept in perpetuity. Other vendors, publishers, have chosen not to follow that model, or they bounce back and forth. For example, with Penguin. When they first started in OverDrive, they started out charging the cover price and you could keep it in perpetuity. Then they changed to the model of you pay cover price, but you can only keep it for 12 months. Then they changed to the model where you could keep it forever, but you had to pay 3 times the cover price. And now they're back to a model where you can only keep it for a limited time, although they say 24 months instead of 12 months this time. But adult books, brand new adult books, are $55. Young adult are $45, and children's are $35. And you get to keep it for 2 years and then it's gone. Okay. Simon & Schuster, you pay basically the cover price. If it's a hardback, a little bit less than the cover price, but you keep it for 12 months. HarperCollins, you pay basically the cover price, but you only get 26 checkouts. And then if you have patrons on hold or more patrons that want it, you have to purchase another 26 checkouts. With who am I forgetting? With Macmillan, St. Martin's Press, they are also a 24 months, but they do a combination. It's 24 months or 52 checkouts, whichever comes first. And their new title cost is $60. So even if they're offering the latest Mary Balog, or no, sorry, Mary Balog is Penguin. So Mary Balog is $7.99 romance. It's $55 for 2 years. St. Martin Press, that little $7.99 romance is $60 for 2 years or 52 checkouts. So they're all over the board. It's hard to keep series together. People really like to see all the titles in the series, but it's nearly impossible because with some of them you have to keep repurchasing. Sometimes the older titles disappear and you cannot buy them again. It's a juggling act sometimes.
Can you talk a little bit about one of the questions, and I don't know whether Jessica, you came up with this, or Lori, or I'm not quite sure where it came from last time, was the one of their patrons came in and said, so I can get this book on it. There's a different set of checkouts and regulations among the groups. And so you've kind of explained that there are 3 groups in the state, Lincoln, Omaha, and then the state. So can you talk a little about the differences in the checkouts and the regulations among the 3?
Okay, okay. For the consortium, the group voted as a whole to limit the number of checkouts to 6 per library card and the number of holds to 3, okay? For ebooks, they have the choice of checking them out for either 7, 14, or 21 days. Audiobooks can be checked out for either 7 or 14 days, and they can all be returned whenever, okay? If they don't return them, they're automatically gone for whatever, at the end of whatever time frame they actually check them out for. Lincoln allows you to check out up to 10 items, and I don't usually use their holds, so I'm not sure how many holds they limit to. And I would have to log on to Omaha.
But there's a limit as to how many there are.
Yeah. Omaha and Lincoln have their own set of rules on how many you can check out, how many holds you can place, and what's the maximum time that you can check out an item. They decide their own individually. The group votes as a whole.
And one of the things that has been a real balancing act, you know, many people want to be able to have more than 3 items on hold at a time, but then at the same time, if you have everybody putting 10 holds on items, you get really, really long hold lists, which patrons also complain about. And so in order to keep the hold lists more reasonable, we have sort of made people prioritize their holds. So you can have 3 items on hold at a time. If you've got 3 items on hold and you stumble across the book you've been dying to read and you want to put a hold on it, you would have to cancel one of the 3 holds you currently have in order to put a hold on the 3rd item. So again, it just kind of makes people prioritize. Because it's, you know, if you increase the number of holds, you're going to get longer hold lists, which people are going to complain about. So it's, you know, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. But we also look at hold lists when we're determining the number of holds on an item is one factor that is considered when deciding whether to buy an additional copy of an item. And so, you know, again.
Yeah, and if you get a book like Girl Stop Apologizing or Girl Wash Your Face, or, you know, and we have a couple hundred holds, if we had a couple hundred holds on 50 or 60 different books, it would be very, very difficult to try to accommodate buying enough copies. It's it's a real juggling act sometimes with some of the titles. I mean, you know, we could buy 15 copies now, and 2 years later, all 15 of those copies are sitting there. And if for some of these titles we're paying, you know, like the David Baldacci, his titles are $84 per copy for the ebooks.
Wow.
The latest Stephen King audiobook, $110 per copy. So how many copies can we afford to buy, but still have enough other titles available for people to check out?
Yeah, one of the meetings or one of the sessions, you talked about sometimes they have some specials going on, and those show up in there too. You want to talk a little bit about those? Some free, I'll call them freebies, like you said. There's that one that they'll throw out that there's a collection of books that are available for unlimited checkouts. And
they did last May. They did one publisher offered a collection of 50 titles for simultaneous use that was free, just as a promotion for that particular company. So we did go ahead and grab those, and they are available through the front page. It's one of those collections that says always available. And actually that's a combination of those 50 titles that were offered to us, plus the Gutenberg project, which there's another 900 plus titles there that are always available for simultaneous use. As far as pricing too, the other thing is sometimes they do run sales, and we try to jump on those. I know June, I've been trying to sort of set some money aside because June is the big audio month sale. And so I want to have a little bit of extra funds to buy some additional ebooks, because especially in those libraries that were part of the consortium at the very beginning, audiobooks were the only thing that were available. Okay, so we built up a really big audience base of audiobook listeners, and they want more, you know, more new audiobooks. So, you know, it's a juggling act. We try to sort of spread the money across evenly each month, but if we're expecting something big like Christmas, or we know the audiobook sale is coming up in June, we try to, you know, save some funds for that too.
Kathy and Lori and Jessica, just in case you don't know what it is, the Gutenberg project is a freebie public domain books that are available not just within Libby, but if you'll do a search on Gutenberg, there are a number of sites that present the Gutenbergs, and they're public domain most generally. Some really old, ancient stuff, and some things that are a little bit newer. I noticed that they've gotten a little bit more visually pleasant. When I first started using the Gutenberg project, it was text, and you had to figure out your own end of columns and end of pages, and sometimes it got to be a real challenge just through the formatting process. But lately they've gotten really nice, and I noticed that in the presentations that presenting the information is a lot nicer now. Other things questions, Jessica and Kathy and Lori, that your patrons may have asked you about, questioned you about in terms of the OverDrive? There are how many libraries in the state consortium now?
There are 172 publics and one lone school. The school joined in the very first year, and after that first year, they said, no, schools have to have their own. So that one school is grandfathered in, and they're sticking with us, but the rest of them are public libraries.
Okay. there's 50, 100. How many in the consortium? How many are there now?
172 publics.
172 publics.
Mhm.
So that's about a third to a half. No, that's about half of the publics.
It's almost, well, at least it's over 2/3.
2/3 of the public.
1 3/4.
So from a public's perspective, from the statewide consortium, there's a lot of competition for the biggies. I know one of the books that I had out was a 6 or 8 week wait list, and you just kind of stand in line and you say, okay, when it gets there, it gets there.
Right. And that's another thing. You notice now on the website, instead of telling you how many people are waiting per copy, they're saying they're giving the wait time or they're providing a wait time instead of the number of people. We had no control over that. OverDrive just decided to go that way. So there are things that will show up on the website that we don't know about ahead of time. Sometimes they just show up because the OverDrive programmers say, hey, here's something new, let's try it, and they throw it out there. So
one of the things is this: it's important for the librarians then to emphasize when you get it, read it, do it, and let it go, because that's going to increase the turnover pieces to it.
right.
So
Right.
So as librarians, you need to kind of encourage your folks to do those things.
Yes.
Jessica, anything from your head? How's the OverDrive at Battle Creek doing these days?
It's going up. It's been, I will say, I think you guys do a great job on the books that you pick. I had an
Thank you.
older patron come in the other day. She said it's like Christmas morning when she gets on her Libby app and picks out her books and everything. So I personally have been very pleased with the selection, especially across with our kids, my 4 kids, all of them use it and they love it and they find the books they like, and they use audiobooks too. And so I've just been really pleased since I've been using it. Now that my patrons are catching that bug, they're starting to really like it as well. So
Lori, in your town, things going pretty well with the OverDrive?
Yeah, it's used really well. I think we had 81 or 82 this last month that check out. So
Right.
we have quite a few that use it. So I have an advantage. My assistant here is very well known on it. She uses it all the time. So if anybody comes in with questions, we just send them to her because she knows what she's doing.
Well, it always helps, if you've got somebody that's a real evangelist for it, uses it, and loves it, that enthusiasm really does sort of travel.
Yeah, she's really good about it. So
are there things, Susan and Deborah, are there things that we can do as librarians and patrons to help through the process?
Well, I'm glad that you like what we have been choosing. We are always open to suggestions for titles to be purchased. So you can always contact me. You can contact Susan. We do encourage you to make sure that you have the OverDrive icon on your website so that people are aware of it. In one town where there's really high usage, or there was, it really took off at the very beginning with the ebooks, the library staff talked at every event they could find. They went to lunch with people. One staff went out to the bar. She took her a couple different devices and was passing them around, showing people how to use ebooks. So, if there are ways that you can encourage people in your community and get that support, so that when we're asked, the commission does partly fund the content in all 3 of the collections across the state, actually, but that money comes through the approval of the legislature and the governor with state aid. So at those times when we're asking for extra funds, it's really nice to hear back, not just from the library staff, but from the patrons. So if you get, you know, a message from your patron, especially, you know, if it's in email or in writing some way, and you could pass those along, we do use those in our budget requests too. That really does help. Susan, did you have?
No, I'd say just like Deborah said, promoting it wherever you can or have an opportunity. And then also, Deborah, I think, does a good job of explaining some of the challenges we have with publishers and pricing, and some books that expire and have to be repurchased. So, you know, sometimes it helps if you have a patron who's complaining about a long hold list or something. Sometimes it goes a long way if you can give them a bit of a sense of the pricing issues and the need to sometimes repurchase, and what maybe mitigates against purchasing more copies of a title. Sometimes if patrons understand that, they're not as frustrated because they realize that you're not buying an additional 10 copies of the title they're waiting for, but that is because you're using that money to buy other unique titles, and it's really a choice that we have to make with limited funds. So, you know, sometimes you can sort of broaden the patron's perspective a little bit so that they don't have that tunnel vision on what is, what their current frustration is. If they understand the landscape a little better, it really does, I think, you know, most of them then understand. So that helps a lot.
How difficult, I don't think any of the libraries that are connected this morning are Advantage libraries. Is there an opportunity for them to become Advantage libraries?
Yes, at any time. You just need to contact Susan, and she will send you out a form that you need to complete and send into OverDrive.
Okay.
Then they would set you up. They would set you up with. You already have a marketplace account that lets you get in and look at statistics for your patrons' usage, and it does let you browse the full catalog of titles that can be purchased, although you don't have purchase ability or capabilities with your standard marketplace account. If you become an Advantage member library, you'll get an additional Advantage marketplace account that you can log into, and with that account you will not only be able to search and browse all the titles available to purchase, you will be able to purchase them. Yeah. The nice thing about being able to purchase those titles is that you have a patron come in and they want something unique and it fits your criteria for what you'd want to purchase. You can make that purchase, and they say give it 24 hours, but usually within a couple hours it's available for your patron to check out. So that's some really good immediate gratification customer service there. So
what is there a difference between the pricing of some of the older material? Like, for instance, at one time you talked about the Nancy Drew books and the kids books versus the adult books. Is there any sort of a differences, or how that process works if we had more kids things?
No. Well, okay. Older titles don't necessarily mean lower price, especially if something's a reprint. The price might be higher. But they do reduce prices on something sometimes. For example, with a HarperCollins, if a title comes out as a hardback, you might have to pay $26.99 for your 26 checkouts. But once the paperback comes out, the ebook price drops. So you might only need to pay $9.99 for another 26 checkouts once those first 26 checkouts are used up. With kids books, either ebooks or audiobooks, again, it really depends on the publisher. Although children's books in general are cheaper than the adults adult books even in OverDrive.
Lori, Jessica, Kathy, do you have any kids that are using, your books? I mean, little kid kinds of things? I hadn't even thought about little kids doing these things.
Well, I will say, sorry, I'll jump back in here a second. I will say we do not have a huge number of picture books, and that's mainly because of the formatting. A lot of the picture books, number one, are only available as in Adobe PDF, and most people will not check out Adobe PDF, okay? And then the other thing is, if it is available in other formats, it's usually available as an OverDrive read or a Kindle. And sometimes I'll open them up and look at them in OverDrive read, and they're really hard to read sometimes. Picture books, and if you have them in paper in front of you, the print is large enough to read, but when you reduce it down to the size of an ebook and put it on even a computer screen, not even a smaller e-reader to read it, some of the text is just impossible to read. So we don't buy those.
Okay. Maybe this is getting too far upstream or off base, but there are a couple of other companies that do similar things. RB is
Digital.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And what's the kids website? I want to say.
Are you like Tumblr or?
Tumblr. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Can you talk a little bit about some comparisons among those? Is that?
I can give you a little bit more information about RB Digital. I really can't tell you anything about Tumblr. With RB Digital, they have now combined all of their content on one platform. And there is a consortium here in the state that has just over 30 libraries in it, but they work amongst themselves individually. And their collection, mainly libraries have been joining it because there are magazines available through it, okay? However, they did also add an audiobook component. The audio, there are about somewhere over 8,000 audiobook titles that are available through that service, and they are available simultaneous use. They are all recorded books published, okay? You can purchase, or you can get access to other publishers' audiobooks through RB Digital, but you have to purchase them for one copy, one user. They're not simultaneous use, and you would pay the exact same price as you would in OverDrive, okay? With RB Digital, each library pays a flat fee based on how much circulation their library does of all their materials, okay? We say we do it per population served, they do it per actual circulation. One thing I've noticed, I did just get some reports since Sam Shaw has collected a lot of the Bibliostat data together from all the statistics that libraries have submitted. He did give me the circulation activity for those, for the RB Digital, and I was really surprised that for the vast majority of those libraries, the audiobooks are hardly used. The magazines are getting a really decent amount of circulation, but the audiobooks were not, which I found surprising. And I plan on talking to some of those libraries just to see how they're promoting them and what kind of feedback they're getting from their patrons.
Okay. Other questions? We're at our hour, which is our usual time for this. Ladies, any other questions? Any?
Is there, you talked about magazines with them. I know there was an email a month or so ago, maybe more than that, about magazines on OverDrive. Is that something maybe in the future, or?
One of the libraries that was participating in the group for RB Digital decided to drop out of that group because for the amount of money that they were paying based on their circulation, they really were not getting the circulation of the audiobooks or the magazines. So they were interested in whether the whole OverDrive consortium would be interested in doing magazines through OverDrive. The vote that the feedback I got from that was, there's not really enough interest, and there just is not enough money to add magazines at this time, unfortunately. I know there are some libraries who are interested, but unless, you know, we can come up with the extra money, unfortunately, it's not going to happen at this time.
Right.
Other questions?
I had a quick question about the Kindle specifically. I don't know if you can answer it or not, but I've been told that if you want to use the Libby app or the OverDrive app, and when you go to choose a Kindle book, then Amazon wants you to have an account with a credit card. Is that true?
Well, if you have a Kindle device,
Mm-hmm.
you have to have an Amazon account. So you
With
really,
the hardware, that's not an issue of the service. Is that right?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure I understand your question.
Well, the Kindle is tied to Amazon, and Kindle, or Amazon builds or runs Kindle. I mean, it's a Amazon piece.
Right. So anyone who has a Kindle and has set up their Kindle will have to have an Amazon account.
Yeah, that is true. But can't you get like the Kindle app on your phone?
You can, but I still think you have to have a Kindle account to get the app
Okay.
set up. So,
Okay. So I shouldn't get that question anymore. Okay.
well, you may still get it,
But that's the answer.
but the answer is they probably do have an account, or whoever first got the Kindle and set it up would have had an account that they would have used to set it up. The main problem comes when someone passes on a Kindle to a relative or a friend.
Or a child buys a Kindle for mom or dad and says, for Christmas, and says, here, use this, and they have no idea what their account is.
Gotcha.
That's
Gotcha.
kind of when you get that. That's when sometimes librarians have gotten drawn into the whole trying to figure out what account the Kindle was set up with, or trying to get back into it, or deauthenticate that
Deactivate.
account and set up a new account. And that often involves getting involved with Amazon Help, which, you know, kind of has that information behind the scenes and can work through it. I'm sure they run into that a lot. So.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Part of the fear too is they think maybe they're being drawn in. The stuff is coming out of the Amazon accounts, and they're being charged for it from Amazon, as opposed to OverDrive that process.
Right. Maybe they were confused about that. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, and that can be confusing for people, and I don't have a good solution for that, because I try to help my mom with her Kindle, and I can't for the life of me come up with something to tell her to help her keep straight what's coming from where. So I don't know if that's me or her or just the nature of how things are today, but you know, one solution I would have is then, you know, at some level, maybe a Kindle's not the best device then for someone, if that's a real concern for them, trying to keep straight whether they're going to be accidentally purchasing something from Amazon versus checking something out from OverDrive. On the other hand, the nice thing about Kindle is we've had some adult children buy the Kindle device for their parents, and then they can actually manage the Kindle content for their parent online, even if they're not physically in the same community. You know, they can go on and they can check out an item, you know, and then send it to their parents' Kindle, you know, if they've got access to their Amazon account. So they can do some of that remotely. So.
Okay.
Anything else, folks, for the good of the cause? Okay. Well, as always, Kristen and Deborah are the gurus of the electronic stuff. So I'm sure they're always there available for you. So
You can call or email at any time.
if there's nothing else, we'll call it a day. And thanks for your time. We'll see you next month.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.